Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show. All right, 121 episodes of Potentially Dangerous coming at you. On this episode, we are going to hit up some of the top seniors that are taken on the board, and some recruiting updates, I guess, where these guys are going, visits that are going to be happening before the rest of the season gets underway, November 14th at the high school level. So, Ross, welcome to the show, man.
2 weeks in a row, man. Give us an award.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to be like, they're going to see a notification on their phone since they subscribe to the podcast, be like, no way. Wrestling season's got to be getting here, right? So these guys are doing back-to-back week podcasts. Something's up. So wrestling's here, man. I mean, they got Hawkeye Wrestling Club practice on Saturday, and then the Cycle and Regional Training Center is doing practice on Saturday. So, I haven't heard if UNI is doing anything. I haven't seen anything on their social media yet, but so that's exciting for wrestling fans.
Yeah, the only crazy thing about, like, we're to the point where, like you said, open practices before those football games, but we still don't know the full schedule of Iowa and Northern Iowa. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's interesting to see, like, how they're thinking about the rankings when it comes down to NCAAs. Like, having the strength of schedule is so important now. You just can't schedule anybody. I mean, there's kind of a method, I think, behind some of these coaches, and it's weird. Like in football and basketball, like, we already know what the heck the schedule is for football for like 5 years, it seems like. But wrestling, it's just so different. It's weird, but it is what it is. But so we talked about last episode we were going to talk on some of these top seniors that we have in the state. Last year was a huge year for Iowa. Tons of storylines around there. Obviously, Brody Teske and Alex Thompson picking up their 4 state titles was pretty special. But Iowa State has a big recruiting weekend this weekend at the Iowa State game. I think the kickoff is like 4:30 or so. And so we got some available seniors that are popping their head in. And, we know Julian Broderson, number one uncommitted guy that's out there on the table. What do you know about him?
So, I mean, yeah, Broderson's kind of been the top guy for about, 10 months now. Aiden Reeves committed to Campbell last year, and then he flipped to Iowa State. But through all that, Broderson's pretty much been the top available guy after Reeves, and we've kind of always knew that the 3 in-state schools were hot and heavy on him, but we reached out, it was a couple weeks ago maybe, Tony, I don't know if you remember when we ran the story on him, but he's getting offers from Nebraska, Northern Colorado, some big, academic prestige schools, Brown, Columbia, Stanford, checking in on him. We know he's a phenom on the baseball diamond as well as the mat. So he's a huge athlete, very attractive. And the one thing he said is he's not closed off to other schools, so he's only scheduled 2 visits so far, and that's to Iowa and Iowa State. So my question to you is, big Iowa State recruiting weekend, is Julian Broderson going to be in Ames?
He might be making a show, I guess, an appearance this weekend, but I think his official visit, from what I've been told, will be from 2 weeks from now. But he is set to actually set in stone, having won at Iowa State. With all the Iowa high school talent that they do have in the Ames room, it's going to be attractive for somebody from Iowa because it's going to be a lot of familiar faces. So I think the biggest trick for these coaches is if they can get them on campus, see the kids they have in the room. I think Iowa State has a leg up on some of these other schools. UNI obviously has a lot of in-state talent, but Iowa doesn't have a ton. So Iowa State's going to have a leg up, I think, when it comes to kids around him, that he will mesh well when they go on campus and off campus that visit.
Do we kind of want to talk about who you think is going to be, or who you know is going to be in town? Is that something, since we're on the topic of the visit weekend?
Yeah, so I got an article drop in just a little bit about, and we're gonna try to do this every weekend because it's more and more popular to bring in big recruiting weekends to these football games so you get that atmosphere. So Iowa State, they play South Dakota State at 7:00, which is also, South Dakota State's really kind of trickled into Iowa now as far as recruiting goes, and kind of trying to steal some of our guys. They just got Cade DeVos from Southeast Polk, so that was a big pickup for them. So I think this is an important recruiting weekend for them. Aiden Reeves is scheduled to be in town this weekend. Obviously, he is already, he switched his verbal from Campbell, 3-time state medalist, 2-time state champion. He's top 5 in the country by the open mat. And then the other junior, so the juniors are the ones that are a little bit, we're not 100% sure yet who actually is coming, but I've got a pretty good notion that Gabe Christensen from Southeast Polk is going to be popping in, who had a monster week, summer. I mean, if you didn't follow Gabe Christensen this summer, his Greco performance at Fargo was pretty impressive. He knocked off 2 nationally ranked wrestlers. He's not nationally ranked right now, but maybe it's just because it was in Greco. I don't know, but I think Gabe Christensen could be one of those guys that in the next 2 years can really raise his stock a lot, Ross.
Yeah, and I think he beat, I think this was also in Greco at UWW Cadets. He beat Braxton Amos. I think Amos was double Fargo champ the year before. So, I mean, he beat him in Greco, which is obviously one of Amos's style. So, yeah, Christensen, that was just in May or June, I guess early June. Then, like you said, he went on and had a great Fargo. So he's obviously probably identified as one of, if not the top big man in that junior class next year. I guess I don't really know. This year we got a clear identified top heavyweight in Spencer Trineri. And I don't know if there's like a clear cut heavyweight. Christensen wrestled like 195, I think. Maybe he's 220 a little bit this summer. So we don't have a clear cut heavyweight, but I feel like he's definitely the top big guy.
He also knocked off Esmoil at USA Wrestling State in freestyle. So I think that, that tournament doesn't get a lot of publicity. They don't stream the event. There's not a lot of media that goes to it. But that was a huge match. So anytime you can knock off a 2-time state champ, that's pretty impressive. So I think another guy that's going to be at Iowa State is another guy that is a junior, Woodward Granger, Cody Fisher. He has been dealing with some injuries. He's going to be on Iowa State's campus this weekend. He's a 2-time state finalist. Just hasn't been able to break through and get that state title, but he's continuing to get there. Sometimes I wonder if he's got the partners in his room to push him. There was lots of rumors that Fisher was going to transfer out. There's, I've heard Johnston, I've heard Waukee, I've heard some other schools, but obviously that didn't happen. So he's still at Woodward Granger, but he's top 15 in the Fab 50. So he's a big time guy in Iowa for schools that are going to be going after him.
Yeah, and he was a Fargo cadet AA last summer. Not this summer, last summer here. And you talk about he kind of hasn't got that state title. He ran into Bryce Esmoil twice. That's kind of it's a tough draw. It was really hard for him as a freshman. Lars didn't even rank him, for goodness sake, as a freshman. He ran into Esmoil then, did again this year, and he had that huge shoulder, I don't know what you want to call it, shoulder brace, shoulder wrap going on. So I think he was a little bit dinged up. Probably didn't get a good indication of where he was at with Esmoil at the end of last year. So he's definitely the other, top talent, big guy in that class.
And then they've also got a couple out-of-state guys, and that's why I think Iowa State, they got Carr, right? But they've lost some. They lost Foka, who decommitted. So these are some big names that they've got to get if you're an Iowa State fan, I think. Ryan Anderson, he is a state champion from Pennsylvania. Bethlehem Catholic, if you aren't familiar, that's a big PA school. He's ranked number 1 at 145 pounds at open mat, and he's getting recruited by NC State, Rutgers. I imagine that has picked up a little bit. I don't know if those are the schools that he's interested in, but the info I got that NC State and Rutgers are pretty heavy on him. And Iowa State was in his top 3 too, so this is a big weekend for them. This weight class, I just be interested to see how that all fits. If he's going to get any bigger, is 141 an option? What are your thoughts on Ryan Anderson?
I think, he projects probably 141. Obviously don't have a lot of depth after Ian Parker unless you think maybe Austin Gomez can grow into 41. But, listening to St. John and Metcalf, they think, Gomez's sweet spot's at 133. So, and I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. That's probably where a lot of world success can come from Gomez, is staying down there near 60 kilos. So I think Anderson would be, a phenomenal target for 141. And I could be wrong, it's been a while since I checked him, but I think Tom, the open mat had Anderson like as a top 15 recruit, maybe even. I mean, he's one of the top available guys in the country. So he's obviously, he's a great fit, weight wise, and he's a high end talent. You talk about, they got David Carr. They need to pull in these blue chips from out of state. They're doing a really good job getting those guys in state, but I mean, they got to pull these out of state guys if they really want to signal to the rest of the country that they're here to play and they're here to contend for Big 12 titles, contend for NCAA trophies. The only way they're going to do that is with some guys from out east.
Yeah, in the last episode, we really kind of all the Ames news that has happened this last month. It's just kind of been steamrolling. Recruits leaving, Zadok. So this weekend is big for them. I think they can really kind of push everything under the rug, right? And you just kind of move on. I think they've already moved on. Like they've already started their coaching search. Sounds like there could be an announcement here soon, so stay tuned to that. But the addition of getting maybe a verbal from Anderson this weekend would be huge. Another name that is going to be in town, Jackson Turley, as a senior from Virginia. He's a 3-time state champion and ranked number 5 by the open mat at 182 pounds. I don't know a ton about Turley. I'll be honest. I don't. It's pretty well known that I don't pay a whole lot of attention from 57 on. I don't. Those aren't my people. I'm 106 to the 40 pound range. So, do you know anything about this Jackson Turley kid?
Oh, I honestly don't. You said he was ranked top 5 at 182.
Yeah, 182 pounds, number 5. And
so that's an interesting target. They got Joel Shapiro, last year. That's probably going to look at 184. They got Sammy Colbray for quite a few years. That's probably going to move up to 97. And I feel like they just brought in a lot of guys there at 84, 97. That 97 range. So that's interesting to go after another top 5 guy. Assumedly, they're going to have to spend some scholarship money to bring in a guy like that. And then he's from Virginia. Or did you say that, or did I? Is that like all I know about him?
I'm pretty sure he's from Virginia. I don't have where he's from here in front of me, but I just had that name. I'm pretty sure it's Virginia, but
so maybe his old connections back to when he was at Tech or Christiansburg is where he's getting, maybe some ties to a Virginia kid.
Yeah, that would make sense. And maybe he had some kind of with the regional training center down there. Maybe he has some connections with them. But so those are the guys that I know that are coming in this weekend to Ames. There's 2 more juniors, and I haven't been able to. I'm anywhere from 2 to 3 more juniors that are going to be stepping foot on campus, and I don't have my finger on that yet. But hopefully I'll have it by the time the article comes out. Or we're going to have some boots on the game. Cam Kramer, our photographer, is going to be hopefully in Ames, by doing a little tailgating, but I'm hoping that he can pop his head into that outdoor practice and see if he can find out who those other 2 juniors are. But there's the class of 2020. There's lots of big names on there that haven't committed, right? I mean, obviously Schreiber's a big one. He's in the room with Seabolt Wrestling on a weekly basis. On Sundays, I believe, is their practice. You got Allard, Cale Happel, but you'd imagine that he's going to be a heavy Iowa lean, right? Cody Fisher, he could be a guy.
Yeah. I'd be, we've had a lot of information come in since that Fab 50 came out. That was probably right before Freestyle State, I want to say. So I'd be interested to see what Lars would come up with if he ran it, because, I'm thinking there's some guys that would probably have some movement, like Gabe Christensen was, near the bot. Like, he's probably number 9 on that list of top 20 guys, or top 20 guys, excuse me. But maybe after his summer, and considering he beat Esmoil, who beat Fisher, maybe he's got enough to jump over Cody Fisher, to be one of the top 5 guys in that class. But I'm assuming the top 3 are going to be pretty static throughout the rest of their career. Nobody's probably going to knock off Cullen. Cullen's one of the best. I was going to try and write something up and see, is he probably one of the more decorated Iowans we've had to win a cadet title, a junior title. He's got 2 more years of high school. He's won a Super 32 belt. I mean, he's won more things in his first 2 years than a lot of guys did in their entire career. So I'd kind of be interested to go through that. But
without a doubt, he's got the most he's got more national accolades than Teskey. If we're comparing him to Teskey and Thompson, right?
Yeah.
And Blockus, three-timer last year. So I think I think you're onto something there, that he is one of probably the biggest names. I think he, if he can get up a little bit higher weight class, maybe he might. I wouldn't say he doesn't have a whole lot of respect around the country, because I think he's just been at a lower weight class. So I mean, if he can get up to like 2026, then people are going to start being like, okay, we got to get Cullen Schraber on our team. But right now he's a little bit on the small side, so people don't really know if he's going to grow or not. I mean, you can't be 113 pounds in college. You're going to I don't care how good you are, you're not going to be able to compete. It's not like high school, right? So,
that's right.
So that's the big weekend of names. Have you heard any other names that I didn't mention?
No. I will say, kind of just looking back to the class in front of us, 2019, I'm kind of surprised maybe some of the other guys on our radar aren't going to Iowa State. Maybe they will later, but Nick Oldham from Valley. I guess it doesn't make a ton of sense for Iowa State to recruit him and Aiden Reeves in the same class, but Iowa State or Northern Iowa both weren't on Oldham's list. He listed Minnesota, Ohio State, up and coming Big 12 program. South Dakota State was on there, and there was one more. Anyway,
Ohio State, Edinburgh.
Yep. So I mean, that one was kind of threw me for a loop, since the one connection Edinburgh did have was Cliff Moore, and now he's at West Virginia. But I thought it was really interesting, Nick Oldham's list, who he had on there now. He said he's waiting for Super 32. Last year he was I think he lost in triple OT to a 2-time state champ out of Washington, and that's why he didn't medal. So I mean, Oldham's hoping for a big Super 32 to get some more teams on there, but I guess the one I'm really surprised is Eric Fout. I mean, I would wonder if I would think Northern Iowa and Iowa State would be after him, since he's not a 25 pounder, but he could be a 33-41 recruit that I think both those schools could probably use him in their room.
Yeah, and they got another, not this weekend, but next weekend too. They said Broderson's coming in, and they've got another big name nationally, but we'll save that for next week. But I know Broderson is coming to Ames next weekend. I think Trineri probably too is a name that you can see that will be definitely visiting Iowa State. But yeah, with Oldham and those ties with Shapiro, I think the main reason why probably is because they got Reeves, right? I mean, unless they think that Reeves is going to fizzle off, but I mean, why are you recruiting him? So,
right.
I mean, Oldham, doesn't really probably trip their trigger. And with Fout, I mean, he's 33, 41 pounder possibly. So you got Gomez there. So do you really need him too? So be interesting to see where Eric goes. He needs to have a big year. I think.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that started strong early. He's always been one of our, he was strong for our cadet team. But these last 2 years, I know he had a tough, he was the number one guy going into state last year, got upset. And he's definitely still going to be one of a strong contender this year. He'll still probably be a favorite, but, yeah, he's a guy that he's just been so close twice. I think freshman year he lost to, I'm blanking names, he's a Davenport kid, wrestles 125 for Loris now. Oh man. You probably don't remember either. Anyway, he came runner up as a freshman too though. So, Bout's a guy that I would think would be somebody to bounce back. I kind of don't know about Trineri and how he fits with any Iowa school though. So I kind of wonder if he might look out of state since, Iowa State got Gremmel, Anderson, Dugan, UNI's got Isley, and then they just got McConkey last year. So I'd be interested to see if Trineri sticks in state.
So there's some big names. There's some big names that are definitely still available. The senior class. It's really kind of hard in thinking about like how did last year look as far as promotion of our events and storylines and whatnot, and it cleared out. So this year these are going to be the stars, and I'm pretty excited to build them up and kind of see where they can take them. And because the senior class is seeing names like Nick Oldham have schools like Ohio State, Minnesota coming after him. That's exciting for Iowa high school wrestling fans to see that we're going to have more kids come through the pipeline that will be at the Division I level, hopefully. Are you going to be going to the Hawkeye Wrestling Club? You got a kid now, so do you go to Hawkeye football games anymore? I stopped, so, but you're right there.
I was just going to say, I'm not too far away. I think the plan was to go, not that it's a really big deal, but I did just have my birthday this week. So, we decided to do dinner on Saturday since it's looking like, a lot of rain forecasted. I don't know if it's going to be very fun tailgating in the rain. First week of the season, going to have to try and find a sitter for the morning. So we figured we'd get dinner out of the way. So I think, I'm going to have to skip, unfortunately. It is fun to get in the room though. That's like the best time when they got that open mat and you can go in there when it's raining outside and just, catch some drilling. And the one, what was it like before Ohio State? Was that when they had wrestle offs? And so that was pretty sweet.
Isn't that funny how life has changed? Like when I was in college and I'd go to Iowa City to party and tailgate, like you'd kind of be, if it rained, like, okay, cool, like we'll find a hill to slip and slide down. Now we're like, let's just stay home. I don't want to get wet and watch it on TV.
Right, yeah. It's like you got to set that tent up and then you got to take it down and put a wet tent in your car. And it's like, man, my car's going to stink because it's going to sit in there while I'm at the game. And yeah, just everything changes.
Yeah. At college, you'd be like, we'll just leave it in there till next week. Like it might stink a week, but I don't want to get it out and dry it off. It'll evaporate at some point, right? So, I think we will have somebody, the open mat, Jace Williams from Ankeny Centennial. He's been helping us out with a radio show, and he's on campus there. So I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to get in the room and maybe get some interviews for us for the openmat.com, and obviously a little bit for IA Wrestle. So we'll see, who's in the room training. It is still obviously open room, so kids don't have to go into the room, but I imagine with the additions of all the Hawkeye Wrestling Club members, I would imagine they're going to put them on display a little bit. For potential donors that will be on campus that are Hawkeye football fans, that's a good time to just kind of really connect with them. And Iowa has really focused on that this last 2 years of reconnecting with those big donors because they've got this facility that they're trying to build. And what a perfect time when you got all these football fans in town to kind of prod them a little bit and be like, hey, this is what we're doing. Help us get back to the top, and that's when you got to do it. But anything else that you?
Well, just kind of to go back a little bit from last week, I really didn't have inside info, and I'm pretty sure that you didn't. But how great was it that Kayla Miracle, was it Michaela Beck, Forrest Molinari, and Nadir Safarov.
Safarov.
All of those guys joined the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, and I think we pretty much nailed 3 of them. And it's not like we were, super sleuths to figure that out, but I mean, at least we were right.
We were close. We didn't have all of them. Michaela, those are some big names in women's wrestling.
Yeah, they definitely have really high ceilings going forward.
So, pretty exciting stuff. But how about us? 2 weeks in a row. I mean, we should get some credit. I mean, we should pat ourselves on the back here. I mean, 2 weeks in a row. I mean, this is like grind time.
What else was I gonna say? We kind of speculated last week, like maybe Tony Ramos maybe wasn't interested in the Iowa State job, and that's why he was waiting to be promoted at North Carolina. But that news came out this week that promotion's official. Kind of like, we thought it was going to be initially. So I don't know what the delay was there, but, congrats to Tony Ramos getting that promotion. So I just had his baby girl today. So that's a pretty big week for Tony. And the other big news that just kind of came out of nowhere was Northern Colorado. Not only did they add Garrett Kiley, but they picked up a couple other Iowa faces. Jake Scanlon out of Johnston, Iowa. He was at American University. I think he might have went to the OTC for a year. And Dante Rodriguez is transferring out of Iowa State down to Northern Colorado. So the Bears picking up a couple familiar faces for us. I don't know what that really does for them program-wise, if those guys will be starting, but, I mean, interesting.
Yeah, it's good to see the pipeline, these guys moving on. I am kind of surprised that Kiley left Campbell. Yes and no. I mean, obviously connections with Moreno, right? And but I mean, Campbell, it's hard to leave Coach Colott, I would imagine, but
in North Carolina, man.
Yeah, and they've got a brand new wrestling room that the facilities they're putting on. So something tells me hopefully there are some dollar figures that move that needle. But I haven't talked to Kiley since that. But hey, now we have some more ins with UNC, so that's good.
That's right. You got Moreno, Kiley. They're just loading up on Nickerson's there too. But I guess he's not our boy.
But yeah, that's all I got for this week. I'm gonna save some nuggets for next week. And we appreciate everybody coming back to listen to this. I mean, we had a lot of more downloads than I thought we would. So, let us know that what you liked about the show, what you want to see in future podcasts as we lead into the season. Obviously, we're going to have team previews for UNI, Iowa State, Iowa coming up. But if there's anything else, you want us to see, we are going to be doing some one-on-ones with Fat 50 members here in the coming weeks, and we'll be kind of rolling those out. And I also talked with the guy that produced Wrestling with Iowa. He sit down with all the 4-timers up. He's got everybody through Brandon Sorensen. So we're going to be releasing those videos on our Facebook page. And I got the go-ahead to kind of carry the torch for them. So we're going to hopefully maybe with the open mat put together kind of some pieces that highlight our 4-time state champions here in Iowa going forward. But that's kind of a project in the waiting. But yeah, until next time, Ross Bartachek, everybody I Wrestle. Thanks for listening. Get low when the whistle goes.